All right. Hi, everybody. Bryan Kurey here, head of research at SBI. I'm joined by Mike Hoffman, CEO at SBI. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Brian.
And also Tony Erickson, managing partner here at SBI. Hi, Tony.
Morning, Brian.
Morning. Thank you both for joining. We're here just to share a regular update on CEO commercial sentiment. It's something that we pulse our CEOs on regularly. And as you know, we started doing it a little bit more frequently as things got a little bit uncertain in April. And so we've been doing this on a monthly basis. Wanted to just be looking at real market indicators, what CEOs are feeling and experiencing on the ground, as opposed to what they think is going to happen. So that's what we're going to share in the form of two charts that we'll put up on the screen as we go along. The first thing we wanted to share with you is just overall commercial sentiment. So just quickly noting on methodology, what we're doing with this chart here is we're indexing 5 different indicators. We'll go deeper into those 5 in a second. But we're indexing those kind of like a purchasing manager index or just an overall confidence index. And what you're seeing here is from May into June, a bit of a rebound in sentiment. So CEOs starting to feel a little bit better about about where things are going. In particular, relative to a really significant decline that we saw in May. So things are coming back. Still lower than we've seen it in quite a while, but starting to get a trend a little bit more positive. So Mike, I wanted to turn to you for a little bit of perspective here. One of the things that we're also seeing in our data is only about a third of CEOs are revising their forecasts down. Half of them or more are telling us that they're confident in the plan that they've got for the rest of the year. So they're not making any significant changes there. So wanted to get your sense from your conversations you're having on, is there a disconnect here in terms of how things have dipped below in their confidence levels, or is it full steam ahead in terms of the plans that people have? What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, I'm hearing more of the changing of plans. So I've had 40 CEO conversations over the last 45 days. And there are even some concerns because of the softness in business of, for PE-backed companies of potential violation of or clipping of some of the covenants.
Mhm.
I certainly wouldn't say I'm hearing from more than 50% that they're going to keep the plan exactly the same as it was. Now, it's probably very dependent on the industry.
Yep.
Cyber, I think, is still doing well, but most of the conversations that I'm having, that's not the case. There's some revising of the back half plan going on right now.
Gotcha. Any sense of like what the nature of those revisions? Is it looking for revenue in different places, or is it they're actually changing their forecasts?
Well, I think in a lot of cases there's a downward reforecast or recast that's going on, and and I know we'll get into this, but a lot of it is driven from just level of uncertainty. Now, I think optimism is increasing for the back half of the year, but if you look at tariffs, wars, the big beautiful bill, AI's impact on people's business, and how they're going to shift to that, I think they're all struggling with what is it exactly that I should do, and when am I going to have all of the information that I need
Yeah.
in order to make some decisions?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Or at least most of the information I need. When is the roulette ball going to stop going around the outside of the circle and land in a slot?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing we're seeing in our data is more of a lean toward decreasing operating expenses for the remainder of the year. So
Right.
that in different parts throughout the organization.
Well, that's a no regrets
Yep.
bet. You never regret that because you can cut cost, and then you put yourself in a position to build it back in the right places as you get clarity.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So wanted to turn now just into the sub indicators. So click into these to this broader index here. And Tony, I'm going to bring you in here after a bit of an overview. So we look at 5 things: quality of the pipeline, deal volume, deal size, cycle times, renewals. And similar to what we saw overall, each of those bouncing back from May into June, where there's just a little bit more positive sentiment that we're seeing. But then if you look at, say, where things were in Q4, right, relative to where they are now, definitely still lower. And even kind of a little bit more concerning, we see that kind of worse than the last quarter. That segment of the population continuing to grow. So kind of rebounding from those depths of despair in May, but again, remaining a little below sentiment across these specific commercial indicators. So Tony, where are you hearing or seeing, across these five, the most intensity? And is it different at all from what you were hearing earlier in the year or at the end of last year?
Yeah, Brian, earlier in the year, the big focus was more on quality of pipe and volume. And what's interesting is recently, and the data is kind of telling us this, front and center. When I think about the companies that we've been talking to, working with, having early discussions with, deal size and cycle time are the two biggest challenges out there from a first half perspective. Most of the companies that we work with run a calendar, or a lot of tech companies that we work with will have a first half closing here in 9 days. And the reality is, all of the conversations I'm getting into, it's deal size and cycle time. And I think that goes back to a sentiment issue. You know, as Mike was saying at the beginning, right now CEOs are kind of waiting on that roulette ball to drop. They need certainty to do something. So they're either deferring decisions or cutting back on the level of the decision and taking a nibble at something rather than taking a full swing at something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing kind of across the board. We're seeing that with a lot of companies right now. And, what will be interesting is if we look back to 12 months ago, how will that sentiment change as the second half gets underway?
Yeah, for sure. Anything that you're seeing people doing or adjustments that they're making because of this in terms of the either to counter, to bring up the deal sizes, maybe they're just trying to increase the volume because the sizes and the cycle times are going down. Anything you're hearing tactically there?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a volume game, and that continues to be the challenge. But people are really rethinking the whole renewal piece,
Yeah.
and that's the other interesting thing in this data. When you look at this data, renewal sentiment is significantly better than last quarter.
Yeah.
But the other piece is there's this interesting trend that worse than last quarter has been up the last four times we've done this pulse.
Yeah.
So that to me is very telling, because people are understanding the importance of a renewal and the importance of bundling at the time of a renewal and getting expansion, and looking at both their NRRs and GRRs.
Yeah.
And that is very much becoming a big focus right now, because in times of uncertainty, you can't lose your base.
Yeah.
So people are really putting a lot of emphasis on that, and they're feeling more confident, but yet it's also a lot of discretionary spend that's catching people by surprise.
Yeah.
And stuff's not getting renewed that would otherwise normally be renewed in a more certain period of time.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike, it looks like you want to jump in there.
No, it's interesting you say that, Tony, because it's funny how people's behavior changes in difficult times. And I think we would promote to our clients that you should be focused on renewals all the time, because it makes it a little easier to grow when you don't have to fill back the bucket from things that have leaked out the bottom. But it is interesting to watch how behavior and focus changes during a more difficult period.
Yeah.
Well, and also the thing is, people decide what they can really live without.
Yeah.
Do I really need to renew that thing? Do I really need to continue that service? And that's where, focusing on the renewal is one thing, but focusing on the value that your client is getting on the thing that needs to be renewed is almost more important. The renewal happens if the value's there.
Yeah.
Right. By the time you get to this point where times are difficult and people are making hard decisions on whether or not they need your service or they need your technology, and you're trying to do it at point of renewal, it's too late. You needed to have focused on that a long time ago. It's kind of like someone saying, well, how can I be in really good shape in my late 40s? Well, okay, you need to start sometime in your mid 30s. That's the answer to it. So by the time it gets to renewal and you refocus on it, you're disappointed with the results that you get because you haven't had a focus on driving value through the entire lifetime engagement with the client.
Yeah.
Or customer.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely see the way that I'm interpreting this to some extent is, Tony, to your point, there are a lot of trade-offs happening on the buyer side in terms of decision making. What can we and what are we going to renew and what are we not going to renew, and we kind of hear that it's almost in some cases a two for one for CFOs driving those decisions in a lot of cases. So all right, so let's just look forward a little bit here. Tony, I'll come to you first. It's July. It's the middle of the year. Now we have two tracks of work that we need to do, right? We need to close the year strong, but we also need to be thinking about, believe it or not, 2026, right? Because if we're not thinking about it now, then we're going to be getting off to a late start. So what's your advice to leadership teams about how to pursue these dual tracks and be thinking about the next 6 months and then the 12 months after that at the same time right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Brian, and what I think about is every year annual planning sneaks up on us, and we're surprised in July when we start talking about next year if we're on a calendar fiscal. And my recommendation to people would be kind of similar to Mike's fitness advice, but being as I'm not in the same fitness shape as Mike, I'll use an analogy as a do-it-yourselfer. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Well, the best time to start thinking about annual planning differently is well in advance of the year being upon us. And you know, I want to pivot this to AI because the reality is AI. Um, 12 months ago, we were using it to better craft emails. And if that's what you're doing to use AI within your organization right now, you know, that's cute. The reality is you should be using AI to fundamentally get into your annual planning cycle.
Yeah.
And if you build it right, next year's annual planning is going to be so much easier. It's that concept of best time to plant a tree 20 years ago. The best time to introduce AI into your annual planning cycle is right now because it's going to make next year easier, the year after that easier, and you're just going to get better as an organization. So, yes, you have to make 2025. But if you don't start planning and if you don't start planning differently, you're going to get outpaced by your competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tony, I'll just pile on top of that. The way we're looking at it with WayForge, there is no such thing as annual planning because WayForge is constantly looking at every single different permutation and interdependency. That it's not about at annual planning, let's make this shift. It is a matter of being able to make the small shifts over time because you can see where you've got diminishing returns on return on go-to-market, where you have momentum and where you have opportunity and you should invest, right? Which is something that I'm sorry, with the complexity of the world today, humans have zero chance at being able to sort that out. The days of a CRO coming in and saying, here's my playbook and here are the 5 things I did last time, and this is going to be successful. I'm sorry, that's over. Unless your playbook has millions of pages and you can predict which page to be on, you don't have a chance. So it's not about just annual planning. Annual planning should be something that you don't have to do. There should be a continuous evolution of your go-to-market because you're able to leverage AI to get the signals that you need before it shows up on the P&L. That's my opinion on the whole thing. Is annual planning should throw that page of the playbook out the window.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to leave it, Mike and Tony. Thanks so much for coming back on to talk about this. And so thanks so much and enjoy the rest of the day.